What if I told you that the biggest leak in your company's revenue isn't in your sales funnel or your marketing spend, but it's hidden deep inside your website's code? Yeah, we're talking about architecture. It's a topic we often leave to the tech team, right? But the thing is, it's quietly deciding your commercial success. In today's world, your technical foundation isn't just some detail. It's either your growth engine or it's a silent drain on your bottom line.
So let me just ask you, straight up, is your website actively bleeding money? And I'm not just being dramatic here. If your site takes more than a couple of seconds to load, then the answer, honestly, is yes. We're not just talking about annoyed users here. We're talking about a real, direct, measurable hit to your revenue.
Okay, this number right here, this says it all. Websites that load in just 1 second see 3 times the lead conversions of sites that take 5 seconds. 3 times. Think about what that means for your business. That's the difference between smashing your targets and sitting in a meeting wondering why your marketing budget isn't working. We're talking about milliseconds, literally translating into millions.
So how do we fix this? Here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at the high cost of just being slow. That's latency. Then we'll get into the real root of the problem, what I'm calling the monolithic bottleneck. After that, we'll talk solution, and that's the Next.js performance engine. From there, we'll zoom out and see how this lets you build a whole digital ecosystem. And finally, wrap it all up by looking at architecture as a real business strategy.
All right, first up, the high cost of latency. This is all about connecting that technical problem, speed, directly to the business pain, stuff that really hurts.
So this cost of being slow really shows up in 4 key places. First off, for every tiny 100 millisecond delay, your conversion rates take a hit. Second, all that friction, well, that leads straight to abandoned carts. People just give up. Third, and this is a big one, your site just can't handle peak traffic. Your biggest sales moments, like Black Friday, suddenly become your biggest tech headaches. And finally, you know who's watching all of this? Google. Your poor core web vitals tank your search rankings, basically hiding you from new customers. Every single one of these is a leak, draining money right out of your business.
Okay, so we've seen the symptoms, right? The slow speeds, the lost money. Now, let's play doctor and diagnose the actual disease here, the monolithic bottleneck.
This quote really nails it. Look, WordPress powers a massive part of the web, and back in 2003, it was a game changer. Absolutely brilliant. But the internet was a much simpler place back then. The problem is, for what we need today, complex e-commerce, powerful web apps, that 20-year-old foundation just isn't cutting it. It's creating a performance ceiling you just can't break through.
So here's the fundamental difference, laid out side by side. On the left, you've got the monolith. Think of it like everything's baked into one giant cake. The design, the content, the code, it's all tangled up. So every single time someone visits a page, the server has to go through this whole song and dance, running code, hitting the database, loading plugins, just to show them one page. Now, look at the right. This is the decoupled or headless model. Here, we've separated everything out. Your content lives over here, completely on its own, and it's delivered through an API to, anywhere. A website, a mobile app, a kiosk in a store, you name it. It's all about total flexibility.
And that old monolithic way of doing things, it puts a hard ceiling on your growth. It's like you're chained down by these 4 big problems. First, performance. It's just inherently slow because of that heavy lifting the server does on every single visit. Then there's security. It's a massive risk, with a huge attack surface. Then, scalability. It just can't handle big traffic spikes without super expensive server upgrades. And finally, flexibility? Forget about it. It's a total nightmare. Your content is basically trapped, which means even a simple redesign becomes this huge, risky, expensive project.
But here's the good news. It absolutely does not have to be this way. And that brings us to the solution, the Next.js performance engine. And I want you to think about this as more than just a tool. Think of it as a whole new blueprint for building for the modern web. So what is Next.js anyway? Well, at its core, it's a framework that was built for one main reason: raw performance. The real magic, the secret sauce, is what's called its hybrid rendering model. Because it separates the front end, what the user sees, from the back end, it gives you incredible control over how your pages get built and delivered. And that means you can guarantee the fastest possible experience for every single person who visits your site.
And this right here, this is really the core advantage. See, instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, you get to pick the perfect strategy for every different piece of content. So, for your blog or marketing pages, you can pre-build them ahead of time so they load instantly. For something dynamic like a personalized customer dashboard, you generate it on the server with fresh data every time someone logs in. And for something massive, like a huge e-commerce catalog, you can even do a hybrid, getting the best of both worlds. Static speed with dynamic updates. It really is about using the right tool for the right job every single time.
And check this out. This table shows you the real-world difference. We're looking at something called a cold start. That's basically the lag you get when a server function has to wake up to do its job. Now, look at the bottom of the table. Some of the older serverless tech, we're talking around 200, 250 milliseconds. Okay, now look at the top. The modern edge runtimes that power these Next.js sites, we're talking less than 20 milliseconds. That is a massive difference. It's over a 10x improvement, which makes the user experience feel, well, pretty much instantaneous.
So when you have this kind of performance and this kind of flexibility, it unlocks a much bigger idea. Let's talk about building a digital ecosystem, because this is where we move way beyond just thinking of your website as some standalone online brochure.
See, because your architecture is now decoupled, you're free to build what we call a best-of-breed stack. You use Next.js for that world-class front-end experience. Then you can plug in any headless CMS you want for content. You can even keep using WordPress for that part if your team is comfortable with it. You can integrate a lightning-fast search service like Algolia. You can use a best-in-class payment system like Stripe. The point is, you're no longer trapped by the limits of one single platform. Instead, you get to be the composer, putting together your perfect, high-performance digital ecosystem.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This isn't some pie-in-the-sky theory. This is where the market is already going. Look at this data. When e-commerce leaders were asked what their top priority was for a payment gateway, what do you think they said? It wasn't price. Look at the chart. The big winners were user experience and ease of integration. Businesses are literally telling us they demand the flexibility and seamless experience that only a modern, decoupled architecture can deliver.
And all of this brings us to our final and maybe most important point, architecture as a strategy. It's time to shift your mindset. We have to stop seeing technology as just a line item, a cost center, and start seeing it for what it is, a powerful competitive advantage.
So when you boil it all down, it really comes to this one choice. Is your technology a liability or is it an asset? A liability is slow, it's insecure, it breaks right when you need it most. It's an anchor holding you back. But an asset? An asset is fast, it's secure, it's future-proof. It scales without you even thinking about it. It delivers incredible user experiences, and it becomes the actual engine that drives your company's growth.
I absolutely love this quote because it gets to the heart of the peace of mind that a modern architecture gives you. Just imagine it for a second. It's Black Friday. Instead of being in a war room, firefighting server crashes and panicked phone calls, you're just watching the sales roll in. Your infrastructure is so stable, so scalable, that your most profitable quarter of the year becomes satisfyingly boring. That is the goal.
So, I'll leave you with one last, really important question to think about. Take a hard look at your technology stack and ask yourself, is it built for the business you have, or is it built for the one you're trying to build? Because honestly, the answer to that question is going to define your future.